Simone, when you were younger, did you take vacations with your family?
Yes, I did.
Okay, where did you go?
Well, I went to many places, but I have one memorable experience. I went to Baja California.
Baja California. Nice. Can you explain where Baja California is?
Actually, it's not in California. It's south of California. It's in Mexico, and it's on the west side of Mexico, below California, of course. And it's a desert surrounded by beautiful ocean.
Ooh, sounds good. Sounds nice. What's the landscape like?
Dry, dusty, and beautiful.
So it's a desert.
Yeah, it's a desert with lots of cacti.
Oh, okay. What are cacti?
Well, maybe you know what a cactus is. It's the desert plant from cowboy movies, and it has needles which stick and hurt, and it's green.
Mm,
Uh, but yeah, that's about it. And beautiful blue waters.
mm. I mean, water from the ocean.
Yeah, water from the ocean. There's no water on the land.
Mm.
You know, there's no lakes, probably no rivers,
Wow.
just dust. Yeah,
How did you get there?
I drove.
You drove.
Yeah, we drove. I didn't drive. I was too young, but my parents drove.
Mm.
Baja is very, very long. It's about 2,000 miles or 2,000 kilometers, and we drove.
Mm. What do you remember most about your trip?
Well, I remember the color of the water, the white sandy beaches, and the desert at dusk.
Mm.
It's a pretty cool place, you know.
Mm. How long did you stay for your vacation?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. That's a long time.
Yeah, well, my parents were a little bit different from other parents.
Mm. Mm. It
So
sounds like a really good time. So, do you plan to go back to Baja sometime?
I hope so. Yeah,
Mm.
but I
Take,
won't. I won't prick myself on a cactus.
okay, well, take me. I want to go too.
Okay.
So, Simone, did you feel that earthquake last night?
Oh yeah, it was big and strong. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from San Francisco and we have earthquakes quite often, but last night's earthquake was pretty bad. I was worried for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I was too sleepy to be really worried, but yeah, I heard the building shake and creak. That
Hmm.
was the worst earthquake I've ever felt.
Yeah, actually, the sounds woke me up. I didn't feel it at first. I heard the squeaking of the building going, "Ee," and then I felt it, everything jolt and move. But usually, when there's an earthquake, it's about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. But last night, that went on a long time. It seemed like almost a minute, so I got pretty worried.
Now I'm getting worried just remembering it. You know, at the time I was just so out of it.
Mm.
But yeah, you're from San Francisco, so you have some experience with earthquakes, don't you?
Yeah, but you're from Vancouver, so you must also have lots of earthquakes.
Not a whole lot, but I think Vancouver is due for a really big one soon. I think on the timeline we're about 100 years behind
Wow.
for the big, damage causing quake.
Mm. That's not good.
No, it's not good.
Yeah.
But I'm not there, so you
Yeah.
know.
Well, actually, one of my colleagues was saying that when there's a big earthquake, the safest thing to do is to jump off your bed and lie next to your bed. Don't get under your bed. Don't stay in your bed. Just get beside your bed. So if the roof comes down, the bed will be tall enough to protect you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I
And
never
you
thought of that.
and you can't fall off the ground.
Yeah. So maybe that's the only time in life it's good to fall out of bed.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, I got a job interview coming up, and I know they're going to ask me about what are your strong points and your weak points,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, that's tough. Because like I know my strong points and my weak points.
Yeah, well, hey, let's
You
talk
know.
about that. Actually, personality-wise, forget about the job interview. Let's talk about what do you think? What are your strong points as a person?
Let's see. Well, I think the biggest one is I'm pretty generous. Like I don't really care about money, so I'll give my friends money or things that I have because I just don't care about that. Um, so that's probably my strong point. My weak points are I'm very late all the time. I'm late to work. I'm late to meet my friends. I'm late when I have appointments, and I am always late. So that's probably my number one bad point. And I'm at sometimes I'm a little selfish. I want things my way and only my way.
Oh, so
So
it's do you use that expression? It's my way or the highway.
I would never say that, but that's maybe how I think
That's
sometimes.
how you feel inside. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you? What are your strong points and your weak points?
Well, one of my weak points, I can say, much like you, was being late. But since I have since I've had a long-term girlfriend, she's made sure that that part of me has changed. Uh, but I think one of my weak points is that I'm mentally disorganized. I'm all over the place all the time, so that sometimes makes me forget things like my keys or
Mm.
where I put an important piece of paper or something like that.
Mm. Sometimes I wonder, because I'm a teacher, that maybe more people are that way today because we have so much input, so much stimulus from TV, from the internet, from movies, from radio, that we are not as mentally organized as people maybe 50 years ago.
Yeah, that could be possibly true.
Mm.
But most of my close friends, say that I'm more disorganized in that way or more chaotic than most people. So
Mm.
I think I'm a special case. You know, I've
Well,
lost my wallet about 4 or 5 times in the past year. So
that's pretty bad. What's your strong point though?
well, that's putting me on the spot. That's a pretty difficult question because it's difficult to talk about yourself, but. I would have to say that I'm friendly and easygoing, and
Mm. Yeah, I agree actually.
I think I think I can get along with people well.
Mm.
So um, that's would be my strong point, I guess. Easygoing and friendly, easy to get along with.
Mm. Well, I agree.
Oh, thank you, and I agree about you.
What, I'm
Like,
always late?
yeah, that too.
So, Simone, are you still planning to take a trip to Southeast Asia?
Yeah, I really like Southeast Asia, so I would like to go there again.
Oh, cool. When you go, are you taking a tour, a package tour, or are you just going to go on your own like a backpacker?
Well, I haven't decided yet. Both have their advantages and their disadvantages.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, well, let's say that with backpacking, it's cheap and you could meet a lot of interesting people, and you can sometimes stumble upon really, really cool things or interesting places by chance.
Mm. It's true. But if you do a package tour, they usually have all the expertise about the area. You'll have a guide who can speak the language.
Well, if I go for a short time, which is probably the case, I think package tours are also good because you're there for a short time, everything is provided for you, and you can just enjoy fun in the sun or culture.
Mm.
Basically, your mind can relax.
That's true.
When you're a backpacker, you always have to think about everything. You know, can I find a place to stay? Is this place safe? Are my belongings safe? Uh, Things like that.
Mm.
Package tour, you just sit back and relax.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always best to take a package tour if you travel with somebody, but it's always best to do backpacking if you're going to travel alone.
Absolutely, I agree. If you're alone, uh, in as a backpacker, you can meet people.
Mm.
You're forced to meet people.
Yeah, it's true.
If you took a package tour alone, you'd probably be one lonely person sitting on the beach, drinking your glass of lemonade or whatever you drink, and sitting there reading a book.
Mm. So on your trip to Southeast Asia, are you going alone or with somebody?
Well, we'll see, won't we?
I was browsing through a bookshop today, and I picked up a book on food, which is quite usual for me because I love food. But this book was a bit different. It tried to make the connection between the kind of food you eat and how it makes you feel. So, for example, sometimes if I'm a bit sad, we'll say, I think to myself, oh, I'd love some chocolate, and that will make me feel better. And sometimes it does, or it feels like it does. Anyway, I'm not sure if that really works, but the author of this book seemed to think that there's a definite link between what you eat and how you feel, or how it makes you feel. She talks about things like like chocolate and other sweet things. She says that it releases endorphins, so that endorphins are chemicals. They make you feel good, I think is the idea, or they help you to deal with stress as well, she says. So yeah, that seems to work, I think. One of my friends told me recently that when she feels a bit sluggish, as if she doesn't have much energy, she'll go to a restaurant or go home and cook some meat, because she feels that gives her energy. So I was interested to read today that this author, she mentions how sometimes the body will feel a need to to be more sharp or to have energy, and that sometimes that means that you need protein, and protein obviously will come from meat. It seems to work for my friend anyway, but I haven't tried it yet myself.
So Alan, you were a baker, so can you explain to the listeners, how do you bake bread?
Well, you need to make your basic white bread, white pan bread we call it. You need flour, yeast, sugar, shortening, salt, and water. So depending on how much you want to make, first of all you throw in the flour into a big mixing bowl. Then you throw in the sugar, the salt, and the shortening. You give it a mix. You turn on the machine and mix it a little bit, because you don't want to have the yeast come in direct contact with the salt, because salt, if it's in direct contact with yeast, it kills the yeast, and the yeast will not react and make the bread rise. Then you take the yeast, whatever amount of yeast you have, and the best way to do it is you take your water, the amount of water that you need, and you break up the yeast into the water, dissolve it in the water, and then start the mixer, and as the flour and all the other ingredients are mixing, you pour the water in slowly until you get the consistency that you want. That's one way. Or you can just, after you've mixed up the flour, the sugar, and the salt, and the shortening a little bit, enough that it's mixed, blended together, you can just add the yeast into the mixture and then add the water. So you mix it until probably about, I think around 8 minutes or 9 minutes, until the dough is developed and it's a glob, and then you stop the mixer, you pull it off the bowl, you let it sit on the bench for about 5 minutes. You let it rise. Then you divide it up into, I think maybe about 2 kilos. It depends on how big you want your loaf. Usually loaves are between 700 and 800 grams, maybe 1 kilo. Divide it up and mold it, put it into the pans. It goes into a proofer. The proofer is a steam box with heat, moisture and heat. And the bread rises in the proofer, and then when it's at a certain level in the proofer, you take it out and put it in the oven.
Okay. How long? Sounds good. How long does it have to be in the oven?
The oven, usually about 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. And that's it? It's done?
And then you pull it out of the oven and it's done. Fresh baked bread.
So, Mike, you don't eat fast food, huh?
No, I find fast food's not very healthy, and I try to eat healthy and try to live a healthy kind of lifestyle.
How do you do that?
Well, going to the gym, not smoking, just generally trying not to do too much bad stuff for your body, I guess, like overdoing things.
What kind of things do you think are bad for your body?
Stress. Probably the worst thing is stress.
Right.
But of course, I think anything that you do too much of, like, for example, if you're somebody who smokes, then smoking too much is probably a bad thing. Although, I mean, of course, smoking I think is not good at all. But anyways, or like if some people, if you want to go out for drinks, then drinking too much is probably a bad thing. Or eating too much is a bad thing. So everything, I think, in balance is the healthiest thing.
Moderation is the key.
That's the word.
So, what kind of things do you do to stay healthy?
Well, wake up early, go for a run or go to the gym in the morning every day. And then just try to eat a balanced diet, not eat a lot of, like you said at the beginning, like fast food and stuff. I stay away from in general, and not try to overdo it try not to get too stressed out about things at work, and also try not to party too much.
Do you have any fast food that you like to eat just once in a while, just as a special treat?
Yeah, sure. I love chocolate.
Uh-huh.
So, for sure. I lived in Belgium for several months, and I got used to really, really good Belgian chocolate.
Very good chocolate there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's kind of, if I do occasionally, I'll have a little bit of Belgian chocolate.
That sounds good. Maybe we should get some.
Yeah, let's.
Hey, Mike, what age do you have to be in Canada to drive?
Well, it used to be 16, but it recently got pushed up to 18. Now, again, each province controls its driving and the age limits. So, but in my province in Ontario, the age limit went from 16 to 18.
Okay, and how do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good thing that you have to be 18 instead of 16?
Yeah, I think it should be 18 or even 20 before you're allowed to drive.
Really? What do you think about someone who is 17, and so they've been driving for 1 year, and then the law changes and becomes 18 as the minimum age? Do you think that person who has been driving should lose their license for 1 more year?
Well, no, and I think generally that happened in Ontario, of course. That situation would have arisen. What happens then is generally laws are made so that the people who have been driving are then put into a system where they can still drive, but they're under a probation system until 18, which is still the case. But,
I see.
Right.
So why do you think you should wait until you're 18 or 20 to be able to drive?
Maturity.
You don't think at 16 you're mature enough?
No, because I think at 18 you're more adult, you're more responsible. Just like you're not tried in the legal system as an adult until you're 18 years old. I think that it should be the same for driving, because I don't think you're fully mature.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree, because I feel like I drove when I was 16.
So did I.
Yeah, and I felt mature enough. In fact, I know my father, when he was young, he actually began driving at about 12. When he was about 12 years old, he lived in the countryside, and it was okay for him to drive at 12.
Well, and I can understand that, because way back when there was a lot less traffic and there was a lot less, there was just a lot less people on the road. I think though that today, because of that, because traffic is a lot worse, it's a better idea to have, to make sure that the driver is prepared and mature and understands that what to do in case something goes wrong.
Okay, fair enough. But how do you know that someone at 18 who has never driven is any more prepared than someone who's 16?
Well, you don't, but generally if somebody's older and more mature, then they're going to be a little bit wiser. I think
they're just going to make better decisions.
I think so. That's just my opinion, but yeah.
Okay, well, sounds good. Hey, Mike, here's a question. Do you think teenagers these days have a better life than, say, we did when we were teenagers?
Well, that's a debate that's been going on since the days of Socrates and Plato, I think. But again, and probably like Socrates had said himself, kids today are a lot different than they were when we were younger. That's for sure. Whether it's better or not, I personally think we had it better, because we weren't stuck behind a computer or behind a TV set all day. I think we tended to do things more outside. But I think whether you're a teenager now or then, probably the same kind of issues went on in your head.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it, actually.
You think so?
Well, these kind of debates or these kind of issues, I feel like there is no better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
And
how do you think it's different?
Well, in obvious ways, like the technology now.
Sure.
Like I can remember my first microwave.
Right.
and my family's first VCR.
Sure.
And those were, pretty exciting moments. Yeah, absolutely.
How's about going to the library to have to get research?
Yeah, that's interesting, but people don't do that much anymore, no. And I don't even realize that. But yeah, so the technology is definitely better now.
Sure, for sure.
But it's more addictive. I mean, kids don't, like you said, they don't play outside. Yeah. They just play video games all day.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't allowed to stay inside so much when I was a kid.
Same here. I was sort of forced to go outside. But also, although I guess you could make an argument and say that kids do kind of play with each other when they get on those the internet gaming sites, and there's a whole group of them from Morocco to Mexico to Canada to the States, all playing online. Of course, they never see each other, but they're all trying to kill each other. Yeah. Okay, so for those of us listening who are not familiar with dating in the U.S., practices are different. Mark, how would you go about getting a date with somebody in the U.S.?
Well, that's a difficult question, because I don't always succeed with that. But I guess usually you like a girl, you begin talking to her, and find some things in common with her, and I don't know, if you feel like she likes you and you like her, then you ask her out.
Okay, and what would you say? Like, do you feel like going out this evening, or what are your plans, or are you busy?
Well, all of those ways are so typical.
Right.
They're so usual. So I don't say those things because I feel like it's just too common. So I think women or girls usually respond better if you're very direct. So I say something more like, which is better for you, Friday night or Saturday night?
Okay, and they respond with a slapped face, or no? What do they say to you?
You'd be surprised. Usually it's there's some good responses. I mean, if the person doesn't like you, then maybe they give you an excuse. I'm busy Friday and I'm busy Saturday. Well, that's okay. Then you know that person doesn't like you.
Right.
But usually that direct question, the girl or the woman is often surprised that you're so direct. So she laughs and she tells you an answer. Oh, I'm free Friday. So you get a good response many times with direct questioning like that.
Okay. And what would you do then on a date? Would you say, "Great, let's go bowling," or?
I would set a time, and again, I think it's not so important what you do as it is important to just make a decision and to do it. So some girls might not like bowling, but if you pick her up on the date and you say, "Hey, we're going bowling tonight," if she really doesn't like bowling, she will tell you. But usually, if she doesn't mind bowling, then she's happy that you made the choice. That's better than asking her, "So, what do you want to do tonight?"
I guess so, and especially if you're the one who's spending the money for it, then it'll...
That's a good point, yes, absolutely.
work out well for both. Well, thanks a lot, Mark. That's great.
You're welcome. Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Good, thanks.
Yeah. Mike, I have a question for you.
Right.
What do you think about the issue of guns? Do you think that people should have a right to own a gun? Or do you think that it should be illegal, that people should not be able to own guns?
Right. Well, I think if there was a reason for it, like if it was the 1890s, let's say, and you had to hunt for your dinner, then I could see the purpose of having, or the point of having a gun. But I think in this day and age, again, being from Canada, I'm very much against ownership of guns, and I just see bad things happening when I see people with guns.
I definitely see your point, and generally I'm a kind of liberal person.
Right.
But when it comes to guns, I feel like it's sort of too late to make them illegal in the United States, anyway, because if you take away the guns, you're really only taking away guns from the good people who actually register their guns and make their guns legal. But the criminals or the bad people, they will still have their guns because they're not going to turn their guns in legally anyway.
But if you punished people who had guns, in other words, if there were strict fines and those fines were enforced, you don't think that then people would, turn in, or that at least that violent gun crime would diminish or decrease?
I hear what you're saying, but who is committing violent gun crime? It's not people who would actually turn in their guns. It's people who are already criminals. So, if you take away the right to have a gun, let's say I have a family and I just want a gun to protect my family and my house, but suddenly the law changes and it's illegal, then I give up my gun. Well, if someone comes in my house and has a gun, I have no way of protecting myself, no way of protecting my family.
But isn't that what the police should be doing and taking care of?
But
with less guns, wouldn't there be? It would be easier for the police to police the amount of guns that are out there. Then, if there was gunshots going off, because they know that there aren't guns around that area, they'd have a it'd be easier for them to try to contain and control and capture the people who are responsible.
Right. That's a great idea, but there won't be a policeman at my house all the time. So at
Sure.
that moment when someone does come into my house and I call the police, maybe it takes too long for the police to get there.
I see. Okay. Well,
So
interesting point.
anyway, yeah, thanks.
No, thanks.
So, a lot of Americans, we know about Hawaii, and Samoa is fairly close to Hawaii, right? So, is the culture similar, or do you know about Hawaii?
I have family in Hawaii actually,
Okay.
and from seeing them and hearing about their way of life, I think it's a bit different. Perhaps the traditional way of life in Hawaii, like 50 years ago, probably was the same as our life now.
Okay.
But I think we're more on a cultural basis, as I said earlier.
Okay. And is that because Hawaii has much more tourism, and so they've advanced more?
I don't think it's based on the tourism. I think it's the multicultural ideal in it, in Hawaii itself. I mean, it consists of so many cultures, so many ethnicities, and Hawaii itself, like the original people, are not really Hawaiians. I mean, they're supposed to be from another area.
Okay.
This all goes back to history. It's a historical point that the migration, the original people of Hawaii, they were the last. I think they were perhaps the last settled. After them, it was us, and then New Zealand. So their people were also mixed.
Okay.
So they're different. The different cultures that they inherited as they were navigating around the world created a certain culture that is very complex, very multicultural. I should say. I think it's very different, Hawaii and Samoan.
So what are the like popular sports and popular hobbies and pastimes in Samoa?
Rugby.
Rugby, really?
Yes.
What, even on the American side?
Football.
American football, soccer?
Yeah.
Both?
Both.
Oh, really? Yeah, a lot of big people, so maybe good at American football and rugby. And what about like traditional dance? I know Hawaii has like hula dance. Do you guys have something distinct like that?
Yes, we have the tawalunga. It's called tawalunga.
Tawalunga?
Tawalunga. Hawaii is a bit different because they have, the hula is done by many people. For
Okay.
us, our traditional dance, which is called the tawalunga, is usually done by one individual. The girl is supposed to be the daughter of a chief, and she's known as a taupo.
Taupo is the
Taupo.
daughter of a chief. Okay.
Daughter of a chief, and she will be the only individual to be dancing, and all the other people will be sitting around her, cheering and singing songs while she's dancing.
Wow.
This individual, the taupo, is supposed to be, well, you can consider her a princess of the village. She will hold the most highest title. She will also be the person who is most cared about. She will usually be the first person to eat. Her brothers are supposed to take care of her, sort of stuff. Like all these sort of everyday life is put into the dance. It's
Wow.
like appreciation, value, and the importance of being a female, and how culture should be respected in this way because this individual is pure, sort of.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. I'm going to have to go see that sometime.
Yes.
It usually happens like in the evening. I imagine like tiki torches and things like that, but maybe
yeah.
that's a stereotype.
Usually it happens in the evening, but nowadays with tourism and all, we have it usually in the afternoons, morning. It depends on the event. If we have, say, a festival or something, an important event, we usually have these tawalungas.
All right. Wow, that's fascinating.
So, hello, Mitchell, right?
Yes, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Now, Mitchell, you're from Hawaii?
Yes, I am.
That must be pretty cool. What's it like growing up in Hawaii?
Hawaii is real different compared to mainland America. I'm originally born in Ohio, but I moved to Hawaii when I was 2. the culture is really different since everyone came from different backgrounds. For example, people Chinese, people Filipino, people Korean, people, they all came from the plantation days. It's a mixed culture. And for example, if my friends in Hawaii, if I look at one person, I don't know what nationality or race they are because they have like 6 races in them.
Really? Yeah.
But
Well, how about in Hawaii? When you think of Hawaii, what do you think of? Like, is it weather or food or
weather, food, and beach.
the beach? Okay. Yeah. What island are you from, by the way?
I'm from Oahu.
Oahu. Okay. And so obviously Oahu is the more
Yeah,
popular tourist one.
It's the capital of Hawaii. Honolulu is the capital. Oahu is the most populated island. Our population's right now about 1 million.
Oh, really? Yeah. And the whole island is 1 million?
Our own island, that's 1 million.
Well, usually how many tourists are actually on the island at the same time?
I would think at least 20,000.
Okay, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Hawaii, is it like warm all year round, sunny and?
Well, the coldest it gets is when you're sleeping during the winter time. It'll hit like 69 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's when people are throwing on sweaters, saying it's cold like winter.
The coldest it gets is 70 degrees.
Like around 66, I would think, when you're sleeping.
Man, well, actually, so that's Fahrenheit. That's the American system.
Yes.
How warm is that in centigrade? About 25,
Yeah,
maybe?
24, 25.
Maybe I don't
Yeah.
even know. Interesting. What do you think is the best thing about living in Hawaii?
It'd have to be just the environment itself. You know, everyone's, like, we say ohana means family. Everyone treats everyone like, for example, my friend's parents, I call them auntie or something like that because they treat me as like I'm their own kids. It's the culture in general. It's a warm feeling culture. It's like they're not as shady. They'll welcome you right when you come in. They start feeding you food. You know, it's like you're not even hungry, but they're feeding you. And also, can't beat the beach. Surfing, bodyboarding, body surfing, canoe paddling.
Wow, man, sounds pretty good. Okay, thanks, Mitchell.
No, thank you.
So, Mitchell, you are Hawaiian, right? And Hawaii is a part of the United States, but what would you say that most Hawaiians are similar to people in the mainland or quite different to people in the mainland?
That's a tough question. They're the same because they speak English, but they look different. They're more of a darker complexion. They speak in a more pidgin, we call it pidgin English. It's broken English, so it's not, you know, if I go to, for example, if my friends will go to the mainland, a lot of them really don't understand them. They're like, can you repeat what you said, please?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
But, I guess anywhere you go, everyone's different. So,
how about, can you say that there's a difference in culture and how people are, like in personality? People in Hawaii and people in the mainland?
I tend to think that people from the mainland talk more.
Right.
Like, yeah, they'll just talk about anything. You know, and Hawaii culture, they don't talk as much. They talk when you have to talk, they'll talk. In general, but.
Have you ever actually considered moving to the mainland, or would you prefer to live in Hawaii forever?
Well, yeah, I've considered many times. Actually, my middle brother right now is working in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And my oldest brother was working in Boston.
Uh-huh.
But now he's back in Hawaii working, and my middle brother is still in New York working. Yeah, I would like to live in the mainland, but I would like to pick a place with nice weather and, you know, a warm culture.
Right. Well, you can't beat that warm weather in Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's for sure. How about the foods? Like, what's some food that's really good in Hawaii?
Oh man, don't get me started with food. Since Hawaii has a mixed culture, we call it local food. Like, it's called like a plate lunch. Like, for example, you'll pay $5, and you'll get, whatever you want. You just choose, like, for example, steak, rice, salad, for all $5. The food is, I think, it's way better than mainland, because, like, the food is mixed. So, like, you can get anything you want. For example, if you go to a food court in Hawaii, we have every section. Chinese, Korean, Hawaiian, Filipino. So you get to choose whatever you want,
Right,
Mexican.
right.
And I think the portions are big too.
Oh, wow. Sounds good, man. I haven't had lunch yet. You're making me hungry.
I'm hungry myself.
Thanks, Mitchell.
When I was living in Pisa, a few friends and I decided to go to Venice for the carnival. So the carnival in Venice, it's usually about February or March, depending on when Easter is that year, because Easter can change every year. It's a different day. So this time it was about the middle of February. That's right. So we went there about the 11th or 12th of February, and it was so cold. I remember it just being bitterly, bitterly cold. I remember a few of us had to buy extra scarves and gloves and jumpers because it was just so, so cold, especially at night. During the day it wasn't so bad. It was still cold, but it was really awful at night if you were walking around. But it was an awful lot of fun to be in Venice for Carnival because lots of people dress up in really, really elaborate costumes and masks. One of my friends there, she goes almost every year to the Carnival, and she does face painting on the streets. So I met up with her kind of by chance. We knew that we were both going to be there, but it's such a busy time, we weren't sure if we were going to meet or not. So it was really good that we met up in the huge Piazza San Marco. She told me roughly which side of the piazza she would be, and I found her. So that was really great to see her after such a long time. And then the other amazing thing we did that weekend or that few days was that my friends and I went on a gondola. So a gondola you've probably seen on television or in a book or something. A gondola is the long kind of boat that they have in Venice, and there's a man who stands at the back with a big long pole that he steers the boat with. So he drives the boat along by pushing this long stick into the mud on the bottom of the canal, I suppose. It was really amazing because that's one of the, I suppose, the most stereotypical things when you think of Venice. And when I'd been there the first time, I hadn't gone on a gondola because I thought, it's too touristy, I'm not going to do that. But my friends this time, they really wanted to go on one. So we went and we asked some of the guys, the gondoliere, as they're called, by Piazza San Marco, and asked them how much it would cost. But we'd forgotten that day it was the 14th of February, so it was Valentine's Day. And as you can imagine, going out in a gondola is usually a very romantic occasion for a couple and whatever, to go off and be maybe serenaded by another gondoliere. So they sing all sorts of songs like you've probably seen on TV or heard in television adverts. So they wanted an awful lot of money, I remember, just because it was Valentine's Day. So there were a few of us trying to argue with them in Italian and, saying that it wasn't fair because there was just a group of us and we just wanted the experience. So I think eventually they kind of gave us a more reasonable price. So we set off in the gondola and went along the canals, the little canals around Piazza San Marco. So it was really, really, really nice. we got to see a lot of the back streets, like I say, and lovely old bridges crossing the canals. It's a really unique experience, as Venice is a pretty unique city, really. There was our gondoliere was pretty funny in the end, as it turned out. He was very nice. And so there were a few of us from Ireland in the gondola. He was asking us all where we were from. And so as soon as we told him Ireland, he started singing us a song by U2, which is a bit strange, not the usual song that you expect from a gondoliere. But it was quite funny anyway. So, like I say, a really unique experience.
Hey Sean, I heard that you were really good at making key lime pie. Is that
Key
true?
lime pie. That's my special recipe. I just can't give that out to anybody.
Yes, you can. Please, I really want to make it tonight. Please tell me.
What for?
What do you mean, what for? Just be nice and tell me.
Oh, well, all right, because you're my best friend, I will.
Thank you.
But you have to pay me back someday.
All right, I will. I'll teach you how to make some Turkish food. There we go.
Okay. Well, first, key lime pie has a few special ingredients that you need to get. And the first one is graham crackers.
Graham crackers.
All right, and if you can find them, the rest is pretty simple.
I see.
What you need to do is you have to find graham crackers first, and then you also have to buy 3 limes, 2 cans of sweetened condensed milk,
Right.
and buy a stick of butter.
Okay.
And what you do first is you get your pie dish, right?
Uh-huh.
And you mix the butter, or you melt the butter down,
Yes.
and then you mix it with the crushed graham crackers. And when you crush the graham crackers, they have to be in pretty small bits, not too small, not like a powder, but sort of like breadcrumbs.
Okay.
And what you do is you mix the graham crackers and the butter, and you form a pie crust.
Okay.
All right. And then what you do after that, you stick it in the oven at 200 degrees for 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
15 minutes, and that's
Okay.
it. And while you're leaving it in 15 minutes, what you do is you take your limes, right? And you have to have a grater and a juicer for your limes.
I see.
And what you do is you grate the outer skin of the limes.
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them.
Yep.
Until you get about maybe about a tablespoon worth
Okay.
of this lime zest. And you mix the lime zest with the lime juice and your condensed milk
All together.
all together.
Okay.
And you mix it until it becomes until you can't see the lime juice anymore. And then it should take around 15 minutes, by which time your crust will be done.
Right.
And all you do is you pour your mixture into the crust
Uh-huh.
and then stick it in the oven again for about 20 minutes at about 180 degrees this time.
So the top can go brown, or?
You don't want the top to go brown, you just want to cook it throughout.
Okay.
Alright, so it becomes a bit more solid than just the runny condensed milk mixture.
Okay.
And then after you do that, you just take it out and stick it in the freezer. And if you leave it in the freezer for about 3 hours, you'll have a nice pie.
Beautiful. Great. Thanks a lot.
No worries, but you better pay me back.
I will. Hey Sean, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I just wanted to ask you, what were you thinking about doing for the summer vacation?
I don't have a set plan really. I'd like to go to Mexico with somebody, but I can't seem to find anybody to go with.
Oh my gosh, that is so strange. I really want to go to Mexico too.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, well, you know, summer vacation starts in about 10 days, so I mean, why don't we book our tickets together?
That would be great.
Awesome.
Wait a minute, have you been to Mexico before?
Yeah, I've been to Cancun once before.
That's really good because I haven't been to Mexico, so I wouldn't know where to go.
Oh, well, I can show you some great bars and some great places to go swimming and diving.
Sounds really good.
I was also thinking about going on a road trip around Mexico, maybe head up to Puerto Vallarta.
Could we get an international driving license really easily there?
Actually,
Or-
I can drive around on my Canadian license without any problems.
Wow, that is so convenient.
Yeah, it is. And also, you know, the Baja Peninsula is only a short boat ride away. We could also head to there,
That would be so awesome.
right? And you know, one place where I really want to go is Mexico City. I mean, it's huge, it's humid, and it's crowded, but boy, I think it would be fun.
How about the hotels then? What are the hotels like? Is it expensive or?
Well, I'm sure they have really cheap hotels, but the hotels that I stayed in were medium to pretty high priced. So if we're gonna go together, maybe we should think about splitting a hotel room.
I'm up for that.
All right, great.
So, Greg, you are quite the world traveler, I hear.
Yeah. Well, I love traveling. I've been to probably around, I don't know, 20 different countries, and I've lived in Thailand and South Korea and the United Arab Emirates and 4 different parts of Japan, and
Wow, that's a lot.
of course several places in the U.S.
Well, for somebody that's going to travel for the first time, what type of advice would you give them? So, in case they never get lost or if they get
Getting
sick.
lost.
Right.
Yeah, that happens all the time. You have to prepare for that. One of the first things I do whenever I get to an airport is I see if I can get a map from Information Center. I go to a hotel. I ask if they have a map of the area. When I want to go somewhere, I ask them to write the destination in the local language, and also I practice my pronunciation with them. And sometimes almost always actually, I get a business card or a matchbook from the hotel to help
Right.
me in returning,
Right, right.
and then I go off on my merry way.
Okay, well, let's say that you're on business in a foreign country and it's just really busy and you forget to get the business card. You don't have the map. You're trying to find some place and you're completely lost. What should you do?
Well, of course, you've got to ask people,
Right, right.
and it's good idea to ask a lot of different people, because in some countries, people don't want to say no, or they don't want to say I don't know.
Right.
They give you some directions, or maybe they don't understand you. They give you the wrong directions. So even if you think you got good directions the first time, constantly check with other people along your way.
Well, so when you're going down the street and let's say you are lost, is there a certain type of person you look for? Like, let's say an old lady or children. Is there a certain person that's better at giving directions?
Well, if it's a child and you want to get to a business section or something, probably they don't know.
Right.
It's a good idea to ask somebody who looks as if they live in the area, though, not just another tourist passing through or something.
Right, right. So you're talking about people that work in shops and things like that.
Yes. Oh, also, like delivery men are usually very good, because they have to go all over the city, so they know it well.
Right. So have you actually ever been lost?
Oh, I've been lost all the time. Like
And
once I got lost for a couple hours in Bangkok, and it was terrible.
Well, that's a pretty intense city.
Yeah. So after that, it gave me the idea that I should always check for landmarks. Landmarks are really tall buildings or a river, something I can always know. I could see easily. I'm trying to remember, the river is on my right side. There's a hill over there. And keep looking for it and remember it.
Well, it sounds like good advice. Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
So, Greg, you have any stories about being lost since you have all this good advice?
Well, let me think. Yeah, there's one time I got lost in the mountains of the Golden Triangle in Thailand.
Really?
And the Golden Triangle, as you might know, is famous for a lot of drug trafficking, and it's also a big tourist spot. Some areas are very safe, some areas are very dangerous, actually. And my friend and I, we were hiking by ourselves in the mountains, and we got lost. And we actually wandered across the border from Thailand into Myanmar.
Uh-huh.
And we came across this village, very, very poor village, very of hill tribes people. And some of the people there were really unfriendly. They started throwing rocks at my friend and I.
Oh, man.
And shouting things. We couldn't talk. So we just backed away, went back quickly up the hill. And we were wandering. We didn't know where to go. And luckily, I could see in the distance, there was one tree that stood out because the hill had been burned. But there's one tree which didn't get burned. And I remembered that tree when we were coming over. So that was my landmark, which helped me to return. I headed straight for that tree, and then I saw the route. But now I make it a habit when I'm going through trails, and I'm not sure where to go. If there's like 2 trails, I put rocks, pile rocks on top of each other, or put sticks to make an arrow in the direction I want to go.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So I found the pile of rocks and the sticks, and then I returned that way.
Wow. So back to the hill tribe people. Why do you think that they were mad? Do you think that they were really upset with foreigners coming into their territory, like they were trying to protect their little area?
There could be many reasons. Maybe because there used to be a lot of opium being grown in that area. Maybe they were growing opium and they didn't want anyone to see it. That's one thing. Maybe just they're worried about foreigners, and for some reason, maybe they've been treated badly before by foreigners.
Right.
I have no idea.
Wow.
But it was pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, better rocks than bullets.
Yeah.
So, Greg, in your travels, have you ever eaten any wild food?
Oh, yeah. In Thailand, I ate a lot of different wild food. One time, I had a really unusual experience. I was with one of the teachers from my school and a couple of his friends, and those guys are hunters. We went into the rainforest of Thailand, and we slept that night in an old tin mine.
A tin mine?
Yeah.
Was it open or was it
No,
still?
It was closed down. There were still a couple old buildings there, and we could have a fire. It was very exciting. And then in the morning, we went walking through the woods. But actually in the rainforest, it's really hard to walk. The only place you can really walk is up the river.
Yeah.
There's so many thick branches. So I was taking a photograph at one point in the forest, and I saw in the corner of my eye my friends suddenly pick up their rifles, and they were shooting at something in a tree, and then this animal came down, and I was amazed. It was, in Thai they say me male, which means bear cat, very low to the ground, thick fur animal, and it came running down the stream towards me, and my friends were shooting. At first I was, wow, this is so interesting. I'm taking a picture. And then I thought, oh my God, this wounded animal is coming towards me. And that's the most dangerous animal. And they kept shooting, and it actually died about 1 meter away from me.
Whoa, it almost got you.
Yeah. And my friends...
They wanted revenge.
Maybe. They should have gone for the hunters.
Right. Wrong guy.
My friends tied the bear up to a piece of bamboo and carried it back through the forest to where we were camping. And they cut up the meat and they cooked it. Very hot, spicy Thai dish. It was delicious. And the next day they brought the rest of the meat back to their village. And I thought it was very interesting. But then the next week, I went to another town and I saw an exhibition about endangered animals in Thailand. And that animal was an endangered animal.
Oh.
So I felt really bad about it afterwards.
Yeah.
I would never have eaten an endangered animal if I had known.
Wow. Man. Well, you know, at least you didn't pull the trigger.
That's true. But I used the chopsticks.